everybody, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave,
And I'm Don.
and we have a guest coming. He's on his way. He's going to fill in third chair. He's running a little behind, apparently, but we will soldier on while we wait for him. Obviously, if you saw the title of the episode, you know we're waiting for James Burton, creator of so many great comics, but we're going to be talking about the Ballad of Nod this week. I did review it earlier last month. You should go and check that out over on our YouTube channel. You're on our YouTube channel, but on the reviews playlist. And Don, you put up one just yesterday, was it?
Yep.
For
Just
Ultimate
yesterday.
Wolverine #2.
Yeah, over 1,000 views, even though it just came out on Saturday, which, for a comic review, you really would hope for it, I guess, earlier in the week before it releases. But hey, had a busy week as far as work and such, so just couldn't get it in till my Saturday morning cartoon time. Well, there we have it. So it seems, so thank you everyone that's seen it. Hope you enjoy.
All right, and looks like James is here. He's adjusting his camera. Boom! There
Hola.
he is. You made it! Yay!
I made it. There's something about StreamYard that really doesn't like my brand of camera, and I had to disable hardware.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, it took me a second.
So there you go. Here's our guest, James Burton, as we promised about 2 minutes ago.
Indeed. Late as long as it took me to get that thing to work. You don't want to see the other one. It's all white and just overexposed. You can't see crap.
Real quick, let's talk about what we're going to talk about tonight.
Ooh.
So on deck for tonight, we've got, of course, follow-up for our Kathleen Kennedy news that we talked about on Wednesday, an update on Taika Waititi's Star Wars film, Simon Kinberg, is he the future of Star Wars? A first look at the DCU Lanterns, and of course, James Burton will be telling us all about the Ballad of Nod. So that is what is on deck, ladies and gentlemen. Is that something we all want to talk about? Are we all excited?
Yeah. I'm excited about all of it. Kathleen Kennedy drives me nuts.
This will be interesting.
Buckle in.
All right. Well, how's everyone's week? James, how have you been since you've been on last? You've been busy, very busy.
I'm trying to be busy. There's nothing like launching a freaking Kickstarter in the middle of a week where your sewer keeps backing up at your house.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
and it's just oh gosh, it's been one thing after another. But I've got a lot of supportive family. We've gotten everything taken care of, and it's been a bunch of work, but we're doing okay.
That's good. That's good to hear. Good to have a good support group around you, even when they got to deal with shit. I mean,
literally, always go for the easy laugh.
Yes, that's that. I learned from the best, Conan O'Brien, who's currently hosting the Oscars. And if you're watching this instead of the Oscars, welcome, because I watched about 10 minutes of it and I'm like, ugh.
No, not for you, buddy.
No, I don't like watching a bunch of celebrities pat
didn't
themselves
the chick
on the back.
From I'm sorry, I'm 1980s misogynist, but didn't the the chick from Wicked like do the opening act or something like that?
She sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Ezio.
And Ariana Grande. Yeah, they both sang the.
Both. How was it? A Wicked fan as you are.
That was all right. And then Conan came out and gave a monologue that was like, yeah, that's just why he doesn't have a show anymore. Anyway. How are you doing there, Omega level nerd, Don?
Yeah, this week started off okay, but some days marital bliss is a little bit more difficult than other days. But hey, I'm here to get to talk about nerdy shit. So, not too bad.
Message received. All right. I had an interesting week. Not so much. Number one, I did tell you before we got on air that launching the slightly changed format and going 2 days a week, maybe it was a little much. It ended up then being a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. I'll get into the swing of things. Also because um, Friday was my daughter's birthday. Yesterday was my girlfriend's birthday. So, and then I also had to go to a funeral yesterday morning. So it's just like I lost all this time because of, family obligations, which of course will happen from time to time, but it was just like maybe this wasn't the best week to do
No,
it.
dude, no. I know it's hard right now, but 35,000 subscribers can't be wrong.
Well, this is true.
So, take the bull by the horns, man. We got to get it. I think we're having some great growth, and I thank each and every one of you watching this and subscribers for doing that. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for helping us get there. I want to get to 100,000 before New York Comic Con. Let's see if we can get there. So.
That'd be awesome.
And then Dark Don can go grocery shopping.
And what would Dark Don buy at the grocery store?
Don't ask. Don't ask.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm just picturing it. I mean,
maybe Force Lightning can be in the budget by then.
Oh, there you go.
Zap.
There you go. Yeah, we've got we've earned about $5 this month, so let's see. Maybe that'll pay for some Force Lightning.
Hey, go buy us a comic.
That's true that you can review, and if you have not been watching our comic reviews on the playlist, the comic review playlist, you got to go check those out.
I dig them. They're honest. You guys are saying what you say about what you love, and I dig them. I'm also biased because my book's in one of them.
Right on.
A very, very good book that we'll be getting to shortly. But yeah, I don't have an offensive joke of the week or an inappropriate joke of the week prepared.
It no longer has a use, so
Yeah, I know. The main purpose of that was to upset John every week, and he's gone. So, but I'll find a new segment to replace it. Maybe we'll bring back Social Media Madness. Who knows? I had an interesting comment on my video about the death of the Snyderverse.
Well, yeah, if we bring back Social Media Madness, like I said, and I messaged you this, make sure it's only to show tweets and comments and shit that we make fun of. Like not every this guy, you're referencing this dude that watched that video where I'm like, hey, yeah, Kathleen Kennedy should retire. ... But because she's taking a lot of shit and as a human, and they obviously listened to 3 nanoseconds of the video, so their attention span could not even expand a TikTok video. They assumed I was like,
problem,
fuck
man.
Kathleen Kennedy, but it's like, yeah, no, if you just watched 3 more seconds, you would understand that I'm a Kathleen Kennedy fan. So preview for you there, James.
Well, I'm sure we're gonna have colorful bits of information about how we feel about that. Dude, it's like a part of the human condition, right? Like 9/10 of arguments, whether it's pop culture or anything else, is everybody waiting for their turn instead of being actually a part of the discussion. And when you're a part of the discussion and you're listening to the other person, that's why it's a discussion. And for anybody who had a dad, period, being yelled at for an hour and a half is not exactly a discussion. And anybody who's ever been through that, I can't even understand why they would do that to anyone else other than the fact that habit. Oh, this is how you're supposed to be when you're an adult. No, not really. That's not a discussion. That's not a conversation. It's not anything. It's just one person yelling what their scruples mean to them. But unfortunately, that's like 90% of communication on the planet at the moment.
Unfortunately. And I blame social media. Speaking of social media, here's Darth Don to tell you how you can find more superhero speak.
Doth dawn here. And you must subscribe to Superhero Speak if you haven't already. And if you have already, make another account and subscribe again. You also will like this video. And while you're on the HoloNet, go to superheroespeak.com. Find the links to our merch and purchase one of our shirts. Don't skimp on the shipping, or else I will trap you in a box with an agitated gundog named Brie Larson. I would just force lightning you, but we don't have that in the effects budget. Now, back to the show.
I still love that line.
Dude, I when you guys played that clip the other week, I was like doing dishes and listening. I didn't actually get to see the fact that Don's wearing like Shadowrun style like clothing and stuff, that he looks like it's like a street mage. That's so much cooler than I thought it was.
Kassan's here. He says, discuss this. Kathleen Kennedy sucks. Yeah, and hello, fellas. He also says that background music is too chill for Darth Don. Yeah, you know, but
it was menacing. But
yeah, we got to find stuff that we're not going to get sued for using. That's the or
is that one of them?
No, that's
I'm about
that's
to say
fine.
30-year-old Metroid music hanging off the copyright list there.
No, it's not. That's why it's good. I like it. You know, but I like weird and quirky things.
It was like one part Cyberpunk and one part Star Wars.
In fact, you know what? Don's got his Darth Don, and this is what I did. So, instead of me telling everyone to scribe.
Oh yeah, your thing.
This is my quirky one.
If you haven't done so yet, subscribe. It really keeps this podcast alive. Smash the like button if you please. It gives us what we need. Maybe leave a comment or two. It's a really nice thing to do. And what are you waiting for? Visit our merch store. But before you click away, subscribe to our show today.
Dude, what was the name of that stuff in the 70s and early 80s where they would tell you about how the Bill of Rights worked?
Schoolhouse Rock.
That reminds me so much of Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes, exactly. That was the point. Thank you. I'm teaching our viewers how to subscribe, like, and comment, and maybe buy a t-shirt. It's very important things that we're teaching.
It is.
Yes. All right, let's get on to a little bit of news here. We're going to start with, of course, Kathleen Kennedy will be stepping down as Lucasfilm president, but not retiring. So we talked about this last week, and then she came out and did an interview with Variety, said that she won't be the CEO anymore. And of course, Dave Filoni is the most likely person to take her place, but she will not stop producing films. She just won't be the CEO anymore. So I am glad that we finally got like clarification on it, but I don't know. What do you think, James, about this news?
I think that if you're going to identify the root cause of an influence that is altered and changed away from where you want things to go corporately, talk about that for a second, because unfortunately I have first-hand knowledge about that crap. A corporation is basically like a big-ass amoeba. It's going to evolve to consume everything that's in its path. That's what it's supposed to do. And that is exactly what Disney did. she and all the other people in her position are a part of that. And if you identify one where they're going in the wrong direction and hurting the corporation, having them step down but still hang around, it's never worked. You have to get rid of them. When HP did that, they left around that chick from eBay.
Yeah.
Massively hurt the company, epically. It slowed down all their efforts and basically took a company that had 98% market share and turned it into a 5% market share and let a tiny ass little delivery company like Dell kick its ass for the next 15, 20 years. It's kind of the same thing. And when you talk about culture is like an upside down pyramid where the people who are running things kind of provide direction for everybody that they work with. They support it, and how they support it affects everyone. That's why it's an upside down pyramid, not a top down pyramid.
Right.
And you hear all these different things, which none of us will ever know 100% about Kathleen Kennedy kind of bullying her way through things and trying to emphasize one agenda over another, because it's all agendas. And I don't think any of that's going to go away if she's still around. When you get into the stuff that I actually care about, because I really don't give a crap about any of what I just said, because I'm not in that corporation, it's really about Star Wars. I got super excited when they started making the sequels. I was super excited and in line for like 8 hours when they made the prequels. And it was something that I absolutely loved. Now, dude, I don't have very much motivation to go and watch any new Star Wars stuff. I will say this. The new one with the kids got me super excited. I got to finish it. And I absolutely love the first 2 episodes. And I know that she also was a heavy influence on that. But then you have something like The Acolyte, which is so far away from like the canon that all of us traded off of for years.
Yeah.
Which was its main problem. It was trying to redefine all these weird little things about it and get away from what everybody had envisioned, everybody loved. It's like one of the hugest problems with the prequels was giving us all this information on Darth Vader. Darth Vader was super scary because none of us had any information about Darth Vader. We filled it in with our minds. We filled it in with the worst possible versions of it in our head. And instead of leaning into that, instead of loving that, instead of being a fan of that, everybody had to put their ego stamp on it, which is another side effect of Hollywood. Unfortunately,
right.
Kathleen Kennedy was at the helm for a lot of this. It doesn't mean somebody else couldn't have been there and screwed it up just as bad or worse. Because there could have been. Like, I'm not a fan of the midichlorian crap. That's true.
Yeah.
A lot of things he still had an effect on. I like the work that Filoni has done, but how's he going to push everything when somebody with this massive of an influence is sitting over there in the corner with her minions? They're not cleaning house. This is a step in the right direction, but enough steps. They're going to take the tiny little creative things that were good about all the offshoots, and we'll see how it goes, man. I don't know. It doesn't. I'm glad it's happening, but at the same point, I don't have the faith that the ship has been righted. I don't. I've got very little faith in what they do at all at the moment. Like the parts that I did like about the new stuff, like the Acolyte, for example. The first episode I really, really dug, and I absolutely loved all the stuff with Asuka. I loved a lot of that. A lot of people were really upset that it wasn't exactly centric on certain principles, which I may or may not have gotten. But at the same point, turning Luke Skywalker into a limp old man was one of the dumbest things I think I've ever seen in my life. That's what you take. You take the hero of an entire generation of people and you just make it so that he's this, and then he gives up.
Yeah, but I also think I think that is why everyone loved season 2 of The Mandalorian, because they gave us Luke
Yes.
coming back as the hero.
Yeah, and that I loved. And unfortunately, you got to do a certain amount of hero worship when you're doing sequels, or you got to do a certain amount of giving the fan service. It has to be a part of that. However, I would also say that some of the creative things that she did and some of the new stuff, by allowing certain things to be in there that weren't quite as Star Wars centric to the main story we all love, I don't think that she got enough credit for allowing some of that to come out at all. I don't want to see corporate espionage garbage, but maybe somebody else did. But at the same point, man, there's plenty of other cool stuff that they did. One of the things that I missed that they didn't do enough of, in my opinion, in the old cartoons, they had characters that were force sensitive that didn't become Jedi.
Yeah.
And I liked a lot of those characters because they were trouble causing, they were chaotic, they were in there, and they were it meant that not just the Jedis had the Force. That was what I thought I was getting out of the Acolyte when I watched the first episode. And I wanted to see way more of some of that. I loved the idea that it's not just the Jedi, because it expands the world. And when you read the books when you were a kid, when you watched those animations, you got to see the inklings of it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean,
I talk a lot.
Kassan has a good point, though. Just switch to a completely different cast. Don't even touch on the Skywalker legacy, just to crap on it. So Don, you've been quiet.
He's being polite. Come on.
I can see the seething under the collar coming. What is your response to that?
Well, no, listen, everybody knows my stance on all of this. And James, just so you understand, first of all, my main belief is just because I have differences with somebody, I acknowledge that I have 98 more things that we have in common. Okay, so let's, I keep that at the forefront of my mind in all things. And number two, you're talking to a guy that basically spent the first 10 years of his life watching the first original Star Wars trilogy back to back to back to back to back to back. So I am a super Star Wars-y nerd. Kassan here in the comments, as you've probably seen, he'll attest to my Disney Star Wars, shieldom, I guess I'll say. With that said, I respectfully disagree. I think that this whole thing, again, Kathleen Kennedy was picked by George Lucas, so that means a lot to me. And as Dave showed in the receipts on last week's show, she's helped make a lot of money. Now, for those of you that may say, well, yeah, that's money, that's corporate speak. Yeah, you're not wrong. But I truly enjoy the Star Wars universe as is. I truly do. And I understand where people are coming from when they're upset with how Luke was portrayed in The Last Jedi. As someone that collects comics, Star Wars being among them, and for those that want to see that badass, and I've said this before, but for those who want to see that badass Luke Skywalker, Grand Master of the Jedi, he's in there, but he wasn't in the movies because they are having commentary on the dogmatic view of the Jedi, which seems to rub people the wrong way. I don't know why. Again, I love Star Wars. I love the Jedi. It's my favorite aspect of the Star Wars universe. But at the same time, when you tell me the Jedi religion has some flaws, I can accept that. I truly can. And that really seems to be the crux of what a lot of people hate about the Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars. And I don't want to demonize anyone that thinks that. As on the internet, at least, that is the majority, it seems like. I'm saying all that to say this. You mentioned corporate speak. So those of you that may not recognize it, succession planning is corporate speak. I've been in a succession planning meeting, and I think a lot of people jumped on that as, oh, Kathleen Kennedy's retiring. I said this on the last show. It was a ding dong, the witch is dead. And now they're all very disappointed to learn, no, she's not going anywhere. It's just succession planning. It's a corporate. Yeah. It's just, hey, if I fucking die tomorrow, who's going to take my place? That's all.
Yeah, they don't. Very few people give her credit for any of the other things that she keeps moving. And like I've heard I've heard and read some interviews that talk about more of the behind the scenes stuff that she does with keeping the machine that is Disney and Star Wars running in a lot of different ways that people don't quite understand, and that you can't just tear somebody out of that part and remove them out of it, because dropping all that stuff would kind of have a lot of different effects. Yeah. So you're right. So there's a huge place for succession planning, and there's also a huge place for all of that universe to have different elements to it, which, Don, you talk about that on occasion, where there's where if you change from the original dogmas, people throw a fit. If you don't change it enough, then people also throw a fit. Yeah. One of the problems with Star Wars, and one of the successes of Star Wars, is that so much of it is inside of our head from the original movies not having sequels for as long as they did. No matter what got made, it was going to not meet certain people's expectations. Yep. And no matter which direction they went, it was going to have that effect. That meter would have been the same thing. It just would have been a different group sending it whichever it's going to be. And you're right. There are elements to it that just don't get very much light shined on it. And it's a shame, because the Star Wars universe, when you look at the books, you look at the comics, you look at all the different things, and you embrace the entire thing. Like for me, while you were reading certain things in that ages, I'm guessing, I was playing the role-playing games, like the D6 style role-playing games, the really old ones. And they left a lot of stuff in there up to interpretation. Great system. Oh, a fantastic system. It does not get enough props. And it had all kinds of things in there about creating force sensitive and creating all these different things that applied to the universe and expanded it. And I love that element of her new shows, where those little things in those pieces of the world were showing those colors. I love the fact that there's a fucking pirate planet that is just this massive ball of chaos that's run by criminals. And when you were there, I guarantee you, there's going to be other elements of it that get into it. There's got to be somebody who's force sensitive on that thing, whether it's because they can feel it, the instinct, or whatever. It's going to be there. When we're watching this stuff with The Mandalorian, most of the Mandalorian show I really, really dug. I didn't even bother me that what's-her-name, that they were trying to lead towards what's-her-name leading all of the Mandalorians again. Mando doesn't give a crap about that. Why in the hell would he give a crap about running the entire thing? Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of different things where people got really emotional about their takes, which is a good thing, because it means they give a damn. And I'd much rather they gave a damn than were apathetic. But your passion for that, for the entire subject matter, is there because it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, come on, man. The soul of the nerd lived on in Star Wars forever. We had no Hollywood representation for a long ass time, to the point where I loved the Wraith when it came out. Come on. There were fucking Dash Rendar and Shadows of the Empire and shit is all we had. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. The Star Wars is still something to be loved and revered. It's just that people have trouble connecting to anything, and the algorithm that all of us are surrounded by, whether we want to or not, promotes negative feedback because people stay on longer to bitch than they do to say how much they love something.
You see that? You see that, ladies and gentlemen? I thought I was going to rage, and here we are, full circle, hands together in agreement. I just let it be known.
Wow, you play with pussy on camera. Anyway,
you know that fucking cat don't even have a name. Like, we don't have a name for that cat yet. It's just the cat, the baby kitty.
What's wrong with cat?
Yeah.
If there's only one cat, you don't need a name. If you have 3 cats, you need names.
That's kind of where it is. 2 dogs, 1 cat.
I will say this. We did talk about this on Wednesday's show where she made a lot of money for Disney. Like the Star Wars movies, love them or hate them, other than Solo, they all made over $1 billion.
Dude, she's been involved in stuff that all of us love a lot longer than that. She helped make Indiana Jones.
Right. So this whole thing where it exploded online where she was firing, they're not going to get rid of somebody who's making them money. That's the whole thing, right? Like just because there's hardcore fans who aren't like James is saying, we had these fantasies in our heads for decades about where the story should go, and the sequels didn't live up to what was in our heads. So we're not happy with it.
I admit, by the way, I want to make it known as someone who liked all the legacy shit, Jason Jaina Solo, Yuzon Fong, like, believe me, I would have gone in a different direction. I'm just more accepting of what is, I guess, because of my love. This is just the universe I used to escape to, and that's all I'm going to say there. I don't know, but I do get the whole, like, this is not the trajectory that we wanted. I get that.
Yeah. The Wraith is one of Clint Howard's best roles.
He was the guy who built all the engines for the bad guys. And he was the only bad guy to survive the movie.
All right. Let's the other things she talked about 2 other things in this interview as well that I kind of wanted to bring up. First off, Taika Waititi, we heard, I don't know how many years ago that he was going to be making a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And basically she's like, yeah, we're really far off from releasing it because he has never given her a script. Like they've said, like, you want to do this movie, write and give it to us. And and she just defended him by saying, oh, he's really busy. But I was just like, I don't know, maybe he's not interested with everything that's kind of going on with Star Wars. Which leads me to the question, like after Love and Thunder, do we want him to make a Star Wars movie?
Here's a hot take about Love and Thunder.
Okay.
I actually liked Love and Thunder if you take the goats out. I didn't want
Oh, I love the goats, but okay.
Well, the goats made me laugh, but they didn't make me. And I plenty of Love and Thunder I actually really liked, but I'm also an adult who has kids. Okay, a lot of the people that whined about Thor giving his power to all the kids and crap, I don't think quite have ever sat down and been surprised by the amount of fierceness and the amount of strength that's in a kid that is even possible to be there, or seeing what happens inside of a cancer ward, or it's a little bit more complicated for anybody who's seen the mortality of losing a kid or losing a parent like that. I loved all those elements that he put in there. When they made the story in the Marvel comics about female Thor, I threw a fit because I was acting like a stupid little newbie. Just like we talked about at the beginning of this. I heard that phrase and went blah, 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 stupid, blah, blah, blah. I didn't take the time to find out it was Jane dying of cancer. I didn't take the time to find out that it had anything to do with backstory and that it was the words of Thor protecting his love and all the rest of this. I didn't take the time to figure that out. I just went blah, blah, blah. Why are they doing that? Blah, blah, blah. And then when I finally got to see in the comic where Jane was Thor, and I got to see in the movie where Jane had become what she became as a result of Mjolnir, I loved it. I don't have a problem with Love and Thunder the way a lot of people do, and I would have put in the original scenes with Zeus, where Zeus becomes like a surrogate father instead of stripping Thor naked on a pillar and acting like a child.
Yeah.
But I liked it a lot. I don't have a problem with it. Now, that being said, if you have a studio as big as Disney waiting on the script for you and you don't prioritize it, there's a reason. It might be a good reason, but there's a reason.
Real quick, Kassan has a good point. He said the first major flaw of Love and Thunder was Christian Bale's character. The villain needed to breathe. It was a great character, something that should have been Thanos level impact, which I don't disagree, but I think this is the problem with me for Love and Thunder, is Christian Bale was in a different movie than everyone else. He was in a serious movie where he was this powerful villain. Everyone else was kind of in a comedy, even though Jane is dying of cancer. They threw so much comedy, and that's what my issue with the movie was. Like, and it's funny because my son, after we saw it, and he was 20 at the time, he said that, like, yeah, but you're dealing with such serious subject matter, you kind of have to have the humor in it to balance it out. And I'm like, I don't disagree with it, but I just felt it was too much humor,
No, I agree with you 100%. The villain was great. The end scene where it was just them, and it was Eternity. I think it was Eternity, where it was just them having that final moment, and him basically losing himself to let his daughter live, and the rest of that. Like I said, if you're a parent, all that is really touching. However, the goofy scenes about the lightning bolt and all the other silly stuff did take away for a little bit.
Oh wait, I have to put this comment up because this is historic. Dave, I agree. The script was all over the place. The movie didn't know what it wanted to do. Kassan agrees with me. That's it. Show's over. All right. Go out on the high note.
Finally happened.
Back it up. I'm coming to bed early, honey.
What about you, Don? Do you want to see Taika do a Taika
Waititi, as I call him.
Do you want you are the biggest Star Wars fan here. Do you want to see him do a Star Wars movie?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely, I do.
Okay.
I think he's wonderful. Did he fuck up Thor: God and Thunder? Only halfway. I definitely agree. Gore the God Butcher was not used properly. We were talking about using what the fuck is that sword called again? Necron sword? No, fuck, that's DC. Anyway, that's Null's sword, by the way. For any that don't know that he's fucking using to kill gods. But all that's fucking awesome. But absolutely right. I agree. He's in two different movies between Thor and Jane Foster. But anyway, I drink Natalie Portman's bathwater, so I enjoyed it. So, but no, I think Taika Waititi could do a wonderful Star Wars movie. Just don't be serious with it. Yeah, go fringe, bounty hunters, scum and villainy. I think that would be great. And I absolutely appreciate, by the way, only person on earth that could probably say this, the fact that, yeah, they want a script from him, but he just hasn't produced it yet. I don't know. That seems quality to me. That seems quality. I'm excited for it.
There's a reason. The reason could be he's seeking that out. He's trying to get something done that's good enough. He's trying to take it seriously. Maybe there were issues about, I don't know, group, like consensus parts that troubled him when he was trying to make that Thor movie, and he's trying to get it under wraps. Who knows what the heck the reason is, man? This isn't enough information to judge one or the other.
Jude Law is an actor. This is Thrawn says Jude Law is an actor that Taika could use, especially when incorporating comedy. Yeah, I mean, you did not finish watching Skeleton Crew yet, James, but yeah, you're gonna love the last episode. I'm telling you,
dude. I just haven't made my kids aren't watching it with me, which is they're boycotted Star Wars. I hate them both. Yeah. But for some reason, I love the holy hell out of the first two episodes of Skeleton Crew, and I want to finish it with them. It's just they're taking their time.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do a whole movie around the pirates too. That would be cool. So, and then the other thing that she said in this interview is that she said that Simon Kilberg is going to he is going to be doing a trilogy that continues the Star Wars story after the Skywalker saga. So they keep saying it's going to be another sequel trilogy focusing on Rey, but she's like, we're done with the Skywalker saga. So I'm not really sure what that means yet. And for people who don't know who Simon Kinberg is, he is the guy who created Star Wars Rebels. So, I mean, that's a beloved series. I'm just kind of curious.
Great series.
Yeah, is that the tone we want for the next trilogy? That was my question. So
That's-
Don,
that's
you
a
can
good
go
question.
first this time because you know.
Okay. Gassan, get ready, buddy. Here we go, because I'm going to disagree. I really don't want, as much as I like the Rey character and defend that character, I don't want to continue her story. I want to go back to the old Republic. And I want Keanu Reeves as Darth Revan, you sons of bitches. It's right there. $1 billion is right fucking there.
That would
And
be
you're
good.
just letting it sit. So that's my thoughts. I don't care about this dude. He made X-Men Apocalypse, which is the scummy nut cheese in my taint. And so fuck him.
Oh my god!
Oh god!
How many have you had tonight, there, Don?
I'm on number 3.
Oh, okay.
And the next time you take a break, we'll be on number 4. Also had a couple puffs. Anyway.
Dude, somebody can make something good like Rebels, and somebody can make something.
Rebels was badass, by the way. I do have to give him that credit, but I give most of that credit to Dave Filoni. That's just me.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. It's also trying to remember none of these projects are made by a single person, no matter what the press makes it out to be. It just doesn't work that way unless you're one of those indie guys doing things like making the mariachi on like $100,000 budget. Like it just doesn't work that way. Yeah, I agree with Don entirely in this particular case. X-Men Apocalypse was the nut cheese from somebody's taint.
Mine specifically. Don't get me wrong. The first 15 minutes of that movie is fucking awesome. But anyway, that's I just want to make sure I put that out there.
Yeah, but you can't make a movie off of a 15-minute scene that's beautiful.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
There's all kinds of examples of when you're writing, whether it's for Hollywood or whatever it is writing. If you're writing for events, yeah, there's going to be a couple of events that are effing beautiful. It's like that when you're making comics. But that doesn't mean the entire project is going to be fantastic if you can't use your character writing to carry the rest of the storyline. And if you abandon it and make characters do crap that doesn't make sense, or I don't know, allude to somebody becoming a Jedi for 2 whole movies and then say, never mind, he's just a dumb stormtrooper and that's all he'll ever be. Things like that. Then you're really, in all honesty, you're probably writing like you're in high school.
Yeah. Oh wait. Okay. So before we move on to the next article, Kassan does have a good question here. How do we feel about an R-rated Star Wars? Something that explores horror elements of Star Wars.
I love it. Because we have well, look at the Star Wars Visions. Is that the animated thing? Yeah. Check that out. That's got a little bit of horror to it a little bit.
Yeah.
But we got rat ghouls. We got Dark Side, Wraiths. We got all sorts of shit in the Star Wars universe that would absolutely work for horror. What's that? That knobby white spider, right? We saw that shit in Mandalorian, all those fucking spiders. I mean, there's just yeah, absolutely. I'm here for that. Let's do it.
Dude, I would love to see something old school where the Sith are discovering certain things, like the old Jedi comics from Dark Horse. I collected the first like season of them, and there was this brilliant story about the guy who like reopened the temple and like he was a Jedi who accidentally exposed himself to all these Sith entities that were inside of this tomb. That would be an R-rated nightmare from heck if I could think about it. There's tons of potential where you could do it. R is not anything other than a tool to get into certain scarier things. The problem is that there are people that will take an R concept and end up going too far one way or the other and lose it and become something like, I wouldn't want to see like a shock horror, like a gore horror from Star Wars, but I would love to see. I would love to see something that got spiritual, that got dark, that had its moments, like the first Aliens movie. That'd be a great example. Something like that. I would love.
Gore horror would be very difficult in Star Wars, particularly if you're dealing with lightsabers that cauterize wounds as they cut them. So you're not going to get too many innard splatters, in the Star Wars universe.
All right, I guess I'll be the killjoy. I don't like the idea just because at the end of the day, I know people don't like when I say this. Star Wars is first and foremost for kids. Their morality stories wrapped in a sci-fi epic, and if you make an R movie, you're getting rid of the core audience for the movies. So I don't think it's a good idea, but I could be wrong. I mean, hey, do a Disney Plus show that's a little more on the horror side. You can do that, but for mature,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I agree with
the
that
world's foremost Star Wars fan. I'm declaring myself that, by the way. You're not wrong.
You got to change your nameplate.
Yes.
Instead of you're the Omega level Star Wars nerd.
He's changing it.
Did he really leave to change his nameplate? Oh God!
Oh yes, that's beautiful.
All right, moving on.
Gotcha.
The other article that we got, well, not that article. All it was a picture on Instagram, but everyone went nuts. It's our first look at Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre in DC's Lanterns. Of course, Kyle Chandler is playing Hal Jordan. Aaron Pierre is playing John Stewart. And this is the picture that we got. You can see Kyle Chandler is wearing the ring on his hand. They're walking down the street somewhere, and that's all we got. So with this picture, has this gotten you excited for the show? Yes, no? Do you care at all?
Not even a little. I've seen Highway to Heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Got him. He's walking down the street like.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice.
Excited. Well, I think it's one of those things where the studio's just like, and we're going to give you a bunch of lanterns. Yeah, that did not work the first time, and it's I don't know, man. Lanterns is hard to get excited about, not because the concept is difficult or because it can't be visually cool, but I don't know, man. This is sure not doing it for me. Like, they just look like two beat up guys walking down the road. Like, that's I'm missing something. I don't get
it. The ring can't construct any clothes you would find at Neiman Marcus. Good one, Thrawn.
It would. They'd just be green.
Yeah. Kassan says DC Lanterns will be epic. Mark my words. Pierre was in Netflix series that was great. He's a great actor. No one's saying anything about the actors. I think it's going to be difficult. Because again, I feel like what they're doing is, um, what you call it? They're gonna do a thing where Hal Jordan's already a Green Lantern, and they're probably bringing John Stewart in. Like he's probably the new guy. He's the in for the audience to like what the lanterns are and what's going on. But I always thought it was weird when they have more than one lantern from Earth in the comics at a time, right? Like the whole idea is something happens to the Green Lantern, he can't do it, so he gives the ring to someone else. There's one ring for the sector, and yet,
It's
yeah, like, and all of a sudden, like, okay, now we're gonna have a show with two of them, but no, we're gonna have the whole core, and it's like, yeah, I don't know.
that's the trouble with the core is how could you be unique? And part of the superhero fantasy is to be some cool, unique, awesome version of yourself. Well, how can you do that if there's thousands of others just like you with different, slightly different appearances and languages? It can be embraced in a certain way, but not on Earth. If you're going to do lanterns as in plural, you really need to get into the culture of the lanterns to get into them, facing the manhunters, or get into, have they ever even explained Io to anybody outside of the cartoons? Like, I don't know, man.
No.
It's not my favorite DC property to really do. If I was given this thing and was having to draw it, I would focus on space if I was writing the stories out there. I mean, how often would a lantern land on Earth when he's taking an entire quadrant of a galaxy as
Yeah,
his protection? I don't know, man. It needs to be a space epic more than it needs to be some dude walking on Earth. And I'm not a big fan of the whole like He-Man on Earth crap that shows up when they don't have the funding set right. So I don't know.
Don, you're being very quiet, and you're not a DC guy. I get it, but
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it is kind of lame. Like, you're talking about lanterns. Why the fuck am I looking at two dudes in regular clothes? In some New Mexico fucking portion of the desert. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I find it hard to care about Green Lanterns unless it's like brightest day, blackest night shit. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah.
give me some fucking give me that shit. That's what I want from Lanterns. I don't want a fucking buddy cop fucking thing going on here.
Exactly. And it's funny because Gassan says
Be atrocitus. Come on.
A police procedural like True Crime, Season 1, sign me up. Like, yeah, but I don't. It's a superhero show. Like, what's gonna make it
You can
unique?
fucking use your willpower and create an F-35 fucking fighter jet. I don't know, man. They're going too lowbrow for this for me. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, I wouldn't use. Where's the Street Heroes? If they want to do a police procedural, oh God, what's his name? Where's the Question?
Yeah.
I want to see police procedural. Give me the Question hanging out with Black Canary. They have characters for that.
Like,
did you guys ever watch that show where they tried a police procedural where they try to do it with like Batgirl and the Birds of Prey?
Yeah, that was it. Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. It got a little hokey in different moments, but I enjoyed that one. But they have tons of characters that can do procedurals. Like, why would you take these two guys that are basically, I mean, come on, Frank Miller literally turns Green Lantern into a god, like to the point in The Dark Knight where like he just does this and destroys everything around the Earth in like seconds. Like, what? I don't know. It's weird. It's like having a god walking around doing a police procedural.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this picture screams is buddy cop show. Like, and I don't know. I can't. I guess, I mean, obviously we're gonna watch it. We'll at least watch the first episode and talk about it here. But I'm not excited about it.
I think this is another symptom, though, of whoever is making movies ignoring the stories that made these characters great in the comics in the first place.
Yeah.
like if it's going to be Green Lanterns and you wanted to do something like this, there's an entire comic series where Green Arrow and Green Lantern were doing buddy cop stuff for like 15 years.
Emerald Allies.
They had all kinds of stuff like that. Things that worked, things where they can test it and see it and know what went good, know what was a challenge. There's all kinds of different things that they can do, and instead there's just a little bit of, I gotta put my branding on it. So there's total stuff like this. And that version of Green Lantern, not the Hal Jordan, I can't remember the other dude's name. I always lose it. But he's
John
like he's like Jon Stewart is the most straight-laced, like no funny business character. And I don't know, like Hal Jordan is just not, and I guess somebody thought that screamed Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. But Jon Stewart's more.
I'm too old for this. That's what Hal Jordan would say.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's gonna say I'm too old for this, and I'm gonna like laugh my ass off.
And whatever happened, and then we're getting obviously, what's his face in Superman, which is weird.
Guy Gardner.
Thank you. We're getting Guy Gardner in Superman
special,
which is a weird. Like, why isn't one of these two to tie it into the show? And then where's Kyle Rayner? Like, okay, let's just bring them all in.
They could at least do Kyle Rayner. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
You know what? And I actually appreciate that character, Kyle Rayner, because he's an artist. So for him to have a Green Lantern ring, it actually works a lot better than any other. To me,
I like Kyle. As soon as when they created Kyle, I dug him because he always does way more creative stuff with his ring. It's not just a Hot Wheel track.
Kasana has a quick question. Did Dave watch Invincible? Darth Don has to take away his Streamlab access until he does. No, I haven't watched it yet. I was busy. If you watched the beginning of the show,
Dave,
I had a funeral and 2 birthdays this week.
Okay, but Dave, think of this. Think of your girlfriend wanting to give you a blowjob. Would you let a funeral get in the way of that?
No more alcohol for you, sir. You're cut off.
Sorry. I thought that one and I knew it was wrong, but I still went.
Don speaks the truth. Oh my God.
Well, they do call alcohol truth serum.
Oh my God. All right. Well, on that note, I think
you were looking for the inappropriate joke of the day, dude.
Yeah, I know. Don delivered. Let's take a really quick commercial break and then come back and talk some Ballad of Nod.
Sweet.
We'll do this one.
Wow, the stinger.
Timmy, I'm from the Dream Come True Fantasy Contest. You ready to wrestle?
You bet. Mom! Dad, it's really him! Hold on. Okay, now I'm ready.
It looks so real.
Don't count on Sprite to do anything but quench your thirst.
Wanna go 2 out of 3?
You went and got another drink, you jerk. All right.
That was hilarious.
You never saw that? Oh, that's from like the 90s.
Nope.
All right. So, James, you have been busy since you've been on here last.
Yes.
You have a comic that is out on Kickstarter. I read the first issue and did a review of it on the channel. You bastard, you made me cry. It is a beautiful story. And of course it is live on Kickstarter, so link is in the description below. But let Don tell you about it. Let James tell you about it, and then you can go check out the Kickstarter. So I'm curious, where did the story come from originally?
Originally what had happened is I was trying to communicate with my daughter when she was like a little younger than 3. I think she was like 2.5. While I was going through fighting stage 4 cancer and all this, my daughter was
Mhm.
born like before I went in the hospital. And the following 2 years was the most insanity that a person can imagine happening to their family. We lost we lost my mother, we lost one grandfather, then I lost another grandfather, then I lost my father, and we lost our house and our nest egg all in the space of like 2 years, and a job that had been like my career at this everything. There wasn't much I could have lost that would have made this worse outside of like losing my wife or losing my child. And that's pretty much what I had. And that is, and it was really difficult to communicate why I was sad or why I was trying to deal with these emotions to a toddler. It
Mhm.
was hard. I mean, I don't know if other people's parents teach them that stuff, but mine sure as hell didn't. Um, and I was trying to explain grief to her, and instead, I was really worried about how I was communicating with her because I did not want her to deal with her feelings the way that we were taught to, which is through either like crazy behavior or um honestly, both my parents are drug addicts. One of them was a meth cook. So I didn't want that to be the direction that she went into. I know she's 2 and all that, but this is a
Right.
big deal for me. And one day I was watching Jim Henson talk about storytelling, and it just clicked that I could tell her any version of what's going on that I wanted to. So it turned into me telling her all these bedtime stories where they would be about the place I grew up in, which I grew up in this tiny little town corner, San Juan, up in the Sierras. That's Tahoe National Forest, and it's beautiful. Ain't nobody up there that doesn't want to be lost, but the place itself is gorgeous. So I started telling her about my brother and I wandering those woods. I started telling her about my younger sister joining us and us running away from monsters that turned out to be cows and all these different little stories. And then
Mhm.
it turned into me making a story about her because we came home one day and she had a teddy bear that was at her aunt's house. Like, where did you get this teddy bear? I bought this thing like 6 years ago and put it on a shelf. And turns out she found this bear and he's got all these patches and all these scars and all this stuff on him because it was something I bought at a hospital for my wife to feel better after a surgery. Everybody's seen
Mhm.
those bears, they're all beat up, whatever. So I
Yeah.
got one for her. Well, 6 years later, she found it, decided it was her best friend, and his name is Patches. And it turned into me telling her a story about Patches. So this need to communicate with her about my grief and this need to tell her bedtime stories that were about my life kind of transformed into these stories about a little girl named Faye having to fight her nightmares in the dream world to save her teddy bear best friend Patches.
Damn you. Got me again.
It's a sad
Um,
story. It's Kira helps me write it, which I want to make sure is really clear. She's my sister.
mhm.
Um, before I was going through cancer, I wasn't close to my siblings. When in our house, you got to 18 and you got the hell out. And that wasn't because we were trying to abandon each other. It was literally just because, dude, it was chaos. Like where we lived was a horror show. And it was get out and try to make your own life. Um, and during my sickness, I got closer to her. And when she found out I was telling all these stories to Camille, she kind of wanted me to turn him into something else. And then I started drawing the bear, and it happened kind of organically. I write my own versions of the scripts. Kira tells me where I screwed up, and we go back, and I keep going back and forth. She has started to put little instances in it about the nightmares and things that Faye is going to run into. The story itself does have a lot of fun in it, but there are sad elements.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of those movies that we watched when we grew up, like The Neverending Story. I love that thing, But holy
Yeah.
crap, you can't really get sadder than watching Artex die.
Yeah.
You can't get more into that moment where Atreyu has to face Gamorg. Stories and tales for kids before Disney,
Right.
and even in some Disney, were about showing the kids how to make the harder decisions when the decisions came. And yeah, some of them were kind of beat downy, like Cinderella and some of the others. But you have things like The Horned King, where you have a pig farmer little boy thinking he wants to be a warrior. You have stories like Never Ending Story. You have stories like The Secret of Nim. You have stories like that I grew up loving, and they've been gone.
Yeah.
Honestly, until I saw Skeleton Crew and Stranger Things. But those are two modern examples. But you're talking like there's 24, 20, 30 years since the last one of those got made. And it's more important to me to be telling stories like that are both fun and scary and give the kids something to aspire to that read it. If you don't have something like that in it, then I don't understand necessarily the point.
It's funny you're bringing up a great point about that, and that's something that JD pointed out a few times, is that those stories didn't exist anymore. So I actually haven't talked to him. Like he came in on last Sunday, but I really haven't talked to him since then. I never asked him like what he thought of Skeleton Crew, because that is a story that appeals to those kinds of stories we got when we were a kid, where the kids are the heroes, and they don't do that as much anymore. So
one of my daughters and my son's favorite movies are the Goonies, and they freaking love it. Why? Because it was the kids who ended up becoming more than the adults in it, and they love. Kids should be brought up thinking that they can become something.
Yes.
Not that they're going to be forced into something. And it's my strong opinion that needs to be reinforced with everything. So the story is my attempt to communicate that to my daughter. It was I wasn't sure if I was going to see her 5th birthday. So I wanted the message to get across to her as hardcore as I could. So I made sure that my stories were about choice, and that my stories were about the power of what she wants, as long as she's willing to fight through it. I wanted those things to be carried, because the world just doesn't teach us that in a way that I agree with. That pull you up by your bootstraps thing isn't exactly the right message. It needs to be, there are things out there that you may have to face. You're going to have to make choices, both good and bad. And the more noble you behave, the more power there's going to be in your choices. And I wanted her to get that.
Yeah. And has she read the book? What does she think?
Camille has read the book. Camille has spent a lot of time. She loves watching me craft it. Like whenever I'm drawing or whenever I'm doing it, she'll sit down and like watch me doing it. When she was 4 years old, she was obsessed with zombies because I was doing a short film. As an example, she actually does help me a certain amount. She really gets mad when I'm coloring, because a lot of colors that I think are one color, they aren't, they're another. And she gets really ticked off if Patch is not a shade of blue, and if her hair is not brown in Faye. The characters are based on her and Patches. She knows
right.
Her and Patches, so she sits down when I'm coloring and like tries to correct it before it gets too off.
That's perfect. What's the so it's on Kickstarter now. I haven't looked at it today. How are you doing?
We're at 55%. I've had a couple of decent sized backers today, which is really great. We got up to, I think, 30% the first night, which was fantastic. We're looking to bring it in somewhere around $2,400 so that we can get enough books published to go to the cons and sell them online, things like that. I'm really trying to get it above $3,000, because if I can get it there, then it means I can do an offset print and bring it in through a different printer and get a lot more books. So I've got I'm going to add 4 pages if it gets to that level. And one of the rewards is actually if a backer wants to be the kid that's in the extra 4 pages, that I'm going to include them in that. So I haven't drawn those 4 yet. It's the only 4 pages I haven't drawn for the book.
That's actually kind of cool. Wow. So how many issues is this going to be? This is obviously the Kickstarter's for issue 1. How many is it going to be total? Do you have that planned out?
Yeah, this is going to be the first of 6. I've got the 6.
Okay.
The arc is lined out. The script is written for the first 4. I've drawn the first one completely. The second one, I'm at like 50% drawn. So there's already progress being made. I'm going to hope that this year I'm going to be shooting to try to get 3 different issues out on Kickstarter and then 3 different issues out next year.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's important for people to hear because there's been I've heard that from people before. Like they backed to something that was issue 1 and it did make it, but then the creators didn't get motivated to put issue 2 out till like maybe 2 years later. So it's good to know. I mean, I know James, I've known you for a long time. I know you don't work that way, but it's good for people to hear that, you already have it all done. Yeah.
I try not to work that way, but I'll be honest. Artists, myself included, we're flakes. And we get distracted by shiny objects everywhere. And sometimes choices have to be made on what we're doing. Now with me, like you said, Dave, I do try to stay focused and try to finish projects, but life comes up, man. Oh, looks like Hassan's got a question.
First he said, we need more stories like this. The last thing I had my kids watch is in this vein was Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah, Studio Ghibli does a great job making stories like this.
Yeah.
Ponyo, the kids were the heroes.
And then he says, do indie comics creators ever put their comics on YouTube as an audio-visual story? The stills act like a backdrop that someone narrates with dialogue. Yes, they do. Mike Mignola's got a couple that are like that, and Mike Mignola's like the god king of indie comics. I would say it's kind of rare where some of us do it more so than others. I was actually hoping that I didn't put this on there. I wanted to. That is actually a reward I wanted to promise for this Kickstarter, but in all honesty, I was like, gosh, all that editing, all that other rest of the other stuff, I'm not sure what price point to put that at because it'd be the first time I ever did it. I would love to go ahead and do that, but making motion comics, which is what you're talking about, is a lot tougher than it sounds. There's a bunch of different technical skills that some of us artists have and a lot of us don't, that it requires to make that stuff actually work right. And there are a lot of little videos I've made for this book are little like 10-second versions of that. And it took me like 3-4 hours to do. So, though I will say, if you need a voice for, I want to say Patches. Yeah. If you need a voice for Patches, Don has experience doing the voice of a bear for another animated short on the internet. So Don is the king of bear voices.
Well, Aesop's a dog, just FYI.
Oh, you're right. Oh, okay. He's the king of animal voices.
I'm the king of sounding miserable.
Yeah.
Dude, and Patches is a miserable little bear.
He has reason to be, though. He definitely has reason to be. I try to make sure that it starts off with him not being quite. Oh yeah, JD does actually. I haven't talked to JD about that. Sorry, I just read Kassan's next comment. Yeah, and doesn't JD have some expertise in video editing? Sure, he does, but he's also a very busy person. JD's trying to get.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I have experience in video editing, but it's.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a pain.
It depends on which software you're using. There's so many different elements.
Just making the shorts and the clips for this show that I put on YouTube is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But I'm just using iMovie, so it's like
it's a great suggestion, Kassan. I would love to set aside enough time to pull that off. But I also think that would probably be something I would want to do when the story's a little farther along as well. When you've got enough backers into it, you can make enough time for stuff like that a lot easier. And right now we're at the beginning. And at the beginning, it usually starts a lot smaller, at least when you're an indie guy like me. Some of the indie guys who've already made their really big projects and made their names for themselves on a mega level, they have a little bit more leeway than what I've got.
Yeah. But I volunteered Don to edit it, edit it, and do the voices.
Oh, hey, hold on a minute. The video edit? Oh.
Oh, if I get enough beer in there, you'll agree to anything. You don't remember that one night in New York.
You're not wrong. I remember we were at a Mexican restaurant the size of my closet, and after that, it's a little bit foggy.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I think that's the scenario for most of the Don Bluth movies.
So, oh wait. Then guilt JD and Don into the project. Give him a hookah and a shawarma. He'll do it.
You ain't fucking lying. You ain't lying.
And JD, like Dave, is actually, they're both a couple of the people who have read the book before I released it, and whose opinion I respected and wanted to get before I was done and ready to put it out there. And I'm like Dave said, that I don't think the problem is whether JD would love to do it or not. JD's going after his, isn't it his post or grad or
his master's?
Yeah, his master's degree.
And he's teaching, and he's raising a kid, and he's a wrestling coach. Trust me, he's got his priorities, man, and he's got them straight. I would never want to distract him.
Yeah.
But juxtapose that to Don, I have to build a deck in my backyard. You know.
You have to build it?
Yeah, I do. We got a hot tub. It's a whole thing.
Wait. You got a hot tub? When did you get a hot tub?
Yeah, we did. Well, it was over the summer. Someone gave one away for free, but they're like, but you have to haul it away. And so we just rented a trailer. But the person was telling us, like, all these people keep coming up with like trucks and shit. Like, no, it's a little bit bigger than that. But yeah, I've got a hot tub. I just got to get that shit hooked up.
Everybody's got stuff to do.
What's more important?
Spring's coming.
You gonna have some swingers parties in that hot tub?
Oh my Lord.
The least said about it, the better.
No, he's gonna wait till nighttime and put up a big old screen and just watch episodes.
Oh, well, that's absolutely happening
over again.
That's absolutely happening, because one of the favorite things me and the wife like to do when we're getting along is to rent cabins with hot tubs, and
there you go.
Stuff ensues.
Happiness has to come first.
Anyway,
I'm not saying alcohol's involved or anything.
For those watching, James will try to get this back on track. When does the Kickstarter end? How long do they have to contribute if they're interested?
Okay, gotcha. We are running until the end of March. Right now, we just started on Friday on the 28th, which in hindsight wasn't the best day to choose. Everybody not wanting to do any transactions on that day. But we've got the next 4 weeks for people to go ahead and check it out and see what about it that they enjoy. And if they do, try and either back or share it. There's a lot of different ways to help other creators on Kickstarter. Sometimes people don't feel like they can back, but one good way is to go ahead and share it, because the story is about trying to help kids who are feeling that fear, who need that teddy bear, who feel like they don't have choices in the dark. And I feel that a lot of people probably need to see some more inspirational stories. And it's more important to me that it gets out to as many people as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, because like Don used the expression juxtapose. The whole first issue, like, because you set up this story that the bear is defending the girl, and then spoiler alert, you flip that at the end, and it's just like, Niagara Falls, Frankie. It was like, oh, this is perfect. This is the best setup to a story I've seen in a long time. Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you why he's there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
the spoiler alert that Dave is alluding to is that she, which I mentioned before, it's that she lost her father, but you get to kind of see it happen and see the bear show up and stuff like that. And it took a long time to weave that into the story correctly. Something about it just didn't feel right until I added those last 4 pages about the dad talking to his daughter.
Yeah.
And it needed those to get people to understand why what's going on is important. Not everybody gets a chance to talk to somebody they love before they go. Not everybody. I got the chance to talk to my dad, but most people don't. And so I used it to try to make sure that these two characters were kind of talking, that you see why the dad is important to his daughter, and it just helps communicate. A lot of time people don't get that chance, and if for anybody who doesn't, they get to kind of live vicariously, and anybody who has, they get to remember how important those words were.
Okay. You're a terrible person. I guess you're gonna make me cry on air.
Oh, that's my goal, Dave. That's why I came on here tonight.
I know. Let's just say it's a perfect world, and this becomes the biggest book in decades. Everyone loves it. Everyone runs out and gets it. And then someone wants to pick it up. Would you want this to be like a show, a movie, an animated movie? Like, what would be your dream? Or is it just comic is the perfect medium for this?
That's a good question. When I'm making it, all I think about is the comic.
Yeah.
Because that's where my skill set is. That's where my storytelling is. I've worked with writers where they were thinking about the 8 steps downstream, and they would lose track of what they were doing in front of them as a result. So I try to concentrate there. But if I'm playing the perfect world scenario and I'm imagining what I would like to see it as in the future, goodness gracious, I don't know. Maybe a combination of the two. I mean, I'm a huge animation fan, and massive, but I would never want to see this done in 3D, like ever.
Yeah,
I would want to see it in 2D. I would want to see it look like an illustration. I would want to see it carry that visceral weight, because I think a lot of 3D animation it doesn't always carry it because it's hard to get just right.
Okay.
I do have friends who do things like make movies. I know that there's at least one person who would love to see it look like that Christopher Robin movie where the bear is, raggedy looking and there.
Okay.
I've had other people go, "Oh, you made a book about Ted." Like, no, I did not make a book about Ted.
Oh.
That's a very different scenario. It's funny and it's got its own place, but this is very different. and I don't know, man. I think that your fans kind of help decide what those other levels are. Like I've said this before, you don't get to choose how epic what you're creating is. The readers do. The viewers do. They get to decide how much they love it, how much they support it. So I think that would have to be something that has to be talked about. Like, what do people want to see? That's going to be more important than what I want to create to a certain degree after this is done. Because if you don't have enough people looking for it, you can run into all kinds of problems, whether something is being made right or not. But ultimately, I'm focusing on trying to get the 6 books done, trying to get that story out, trying to get them collected, and trying to make sure that I do those as best as I can, so that when people open it up and they feel the weight of what this little girl is going to go through, and they feel the weight of her choices and the weight of her successes and the weight of her losses. That's where my heart is at the moment. If I think too much about the other steps, I'll lose my grip on where I am.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Okay. I have to highlight this as the weirdest comment we have ever gotten on the show. This is from Twitch. So people on Twitch are a little weird. As a barber, I love the men's cam, every stage of a beard growth.
I think Dave is step one.
Yeah. It's just the goatee.
I don't know. Mine needs a trim.
Yeah.
My dad had this big red beard all the way down to his belly, like a Viking. He looked like stoic. Actually.
Really?
Oh God, yes, he did. He
that sounds like a character for one of your books.
My dad appears in every damn thing I do.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Like in Nod, the dad that's inside of the dream world and he's explaining how monsters come for people. There's this dad that's all dressed up like a warrior. That would be my dad. That's not me. That's him. He like in Damage Inc. He is all over that. Right, you can't have Damage without having my dad's influence. And in a bunch of the work I did for Orange Cone Productions, I recently did one where Cthulhu is invading the Wonderland. And I made these knights, and one of the knights, I didn't even realize it. It looks exactly like my dad. And he gets into a giant Cthulhu battle.
Sounds about right.
Gotta have Cthulhu fights.
Oh, of course. I mean, what's the point of doing comics if you can't have a Cthulhu fight? Exactly. So, all right. Is there anything else that you feel? Because I mean, I read the book. I think people should go check out the review. They should go check out the Kickstarter. It's a great story. It's a great, like I said, this is definitely the setup for an epic story. It's going to be 6 issues, so that seems to be the perfect length for this as well. But yeah, I like people should just go check it out. Like I don't have anything else to say. Don, you have any questions? You've been quiet. I know you're still steaming about the whole Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars thing, but come on.
No, I'm just listening to James here talk about the subject matter. And, I was looking at the Kickstarter information, that you shared in the email. And I'm going over the synopsis of the story. And I'm just looking at it like, holy fuck, this is like Yokozuna heavy. Like wet blanket with a coat of sour cream on it, fucking heavy. And, that sort of things, I have to really regulate what I consume for content.
Keep going. We lost James.
Oh, he did not like my synopsis thus far. But it definitely seems like an interesting story. But it just seems very, very heavy. And I'm not a place for it. Particularly somebody with, I'll admit it here, I've got daddy issues. Like my father was in prison for most of my life. One of my only memories was, for whatever reason, one day my mom thought it was a great idea for me to go with an uncle I never knew, never met before, to go get my father from prison, which we did. So that's how I first met my father, getting him out of prison, where we proceeded to go to some woman's house where I played Super Nintendo, specifically F-Zero, with her son, as I realized the thumps coming from upstairs was my dad banging his mom. So I get the whole daddy issue shit. Because anyway, there you go. So he's dealing with heavy shit here that I don't.
I
really
lost
deal
connection and came
with
back to that. That is the perfect moment to come back and try to figure out what the hell's going on when you lose connection.
Yeah.
Oh, goddamn.
Little window into my life.
Just a little. All right. Well, with all that said, I'm going to say check out the Kickstarter. And I think this is a good place where we can ask the question that we ask every episode now. And that is,
What did we learn on the show tonight?
So, James, you can go first. Did you learn anything tonight, or do you have any recommendations?
Be very careful of when you go back into conversations after being gone for a second with somebody who's had more than 3 beers.
That's a solid point.
And I'm sure you recommend for everyone to go check out the Ballad of Nod over on Kickstarter. The link is in the description below.
Absolutely. I absolutely recommend it. It's for everybody who's out there who's had to experience the fear of the dark, and for those who have failed when they get challenged by it, as well as for those who rose up to it and faced it. It's for everybody.
All right. Don?
I learned that apparently Kassan had a similar experience. So, solidarity for those that experienced their father's first day out. Fuck. Outside of that, grab on the desk. Yeah. Here's some serious shit here. One World Under Doom is the latest Marvel fucking thing to come out, where Doom is Sorcerer Supreme and basically Emperor of the Earth. If you don't like things like universal healthcare and things like that, don't read this one. But otherwise, it was very, very, very interesting. So I do recommend One World Under Doom, numero uno. There you go.
Don, it's been a long time since Doom felt relevant for me, but that book I actually have been curious about, and now I think I may have to go pick it up just because you mentioned it.
Yeah, no, you gotta love Dr. Doom riding a fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex, clad in Doom armor, just fucking shit up.
Let's see. What did I learn? I learned that James is a beautiful storyteller, and I already knew that, but he can make me cry at the drop of a hat. I also learned that Don likes to party in other people's fluids because he's got a hot tub and he's ready to party. I do seriously recommend go check out Ballad of Nod. Back it. It's a great book. It really is. I feel privileged that Don sent us. James. I don't want to keep doing that. James sent us the first issue to check out. It's great. And he's a great.
You do realize he just switches two letters, and it's the Ballad of Don, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'll point that out.
I also recommend you head on over to superheroespeak.com, where you can find the podcast every week. Links to all of our social media at the top of the page, comic book reviews, and so much more. I actually haven't been putting stuff on the site. I need to fix that. I have a message. Actually, I have two announcements I forgot I wanted to do at the beginning of the show, but I'm doing them now at the end of the show. We have now launched memberships again for the channel. So please consider becoming a member. We have 4 tiers, and there's you get the whatever tier you sign up for, you get all the ones below it, and the second tier up, you get access to a members only chat over on our Discord. So you might want to check that out, because I'm going to be putting stuff in that members only chat that you might want to, maybe discounts on Superhero Speak t-shirts, or whenever I do the art and we come up with whatever the title for the next episode is going to be, that's where I'm going to put it first, is in the members only chat. So you will have information that the average viewer won't have. So go think about joining. And at the top tier, you get a free t-shirt. So, check it out. I think it's I thought I came up with some good tiers for it. And it really would help us out because Don wants to bring the whole family to New York or something, and he needs the money. So, but I think with the way he's talking tonight, I don't know if he's bringing the wife. We'll find out. Oh, so all right on that. Oh, and the other announcement was, I know if you're listening to the podcast, you really should be watching us on YouTube. I've been behind putting the episodes out on audio, so just come subscribe. There's 35,000 subscribers now on YouTube. This is where we're at all the time. This is where we're keeping all the fun stuff. Just come subscribe here. Watch us, because you can see Don make a fool of himself. It's great. Well, on that note, on behalf of myself, Don, and our guest, James, I'd like to say thanks for watching. And as always, don't let your cape caught in the door. See you next time.